Hey everyone, welcome back to Inside Indiana Overtime. Alex McCarthy, Seth Tao, here in a rainy, windy Bloomington, watching Indiana on TV lose 75-72 to Maryland. A game that was back and forth the whole time. It was kind of the definition of back and forth. I mean, nobody led by more than 7 points. There were 15 lead changes, 9 ties, and it was just one of those kind of mid-season Big Ten basketball games that comes down to people making plays late, and Maryland made those plays, and just kind of went on a really quick 5-0 run there late to turn a 2-point deficit into a 3-point lead, and then Melo Trimble hit a couple of free throws, and Indiana just wasn't really, despite a outrageous dunk from OG Anunoby, just wasn't able to kind of overcome that late Maryland push and falls to 1-3 in Big Ten play. I guess, what kind of stood out to you tonight? There's a lot going on, but what kind of stood out to you tonight?
I mean, James Blackman shot really well tonight. He was 9 of 15, 4 of 8 from downtown. He had 22 points. I mean, especially in the second half, he had ice in his veins. But I mean, Maryland did a really good job in the last few minutes denying him the ball and denying him a good look. I mean, right before that OG look, Tom Crean drew up a play to get James Blackman the ball, and they got him the ball, but he couldn't come up with a shot, and he had to find OG to make a play. So, I mean, credit to Maryland there. They did a good job defending Blackman down the stretch.
Yeah, they did. I mean, he just wasn't able, on that possession, he wasn't able to get anything. And then Indiana actually got a really good look at the buzzer, a pretty good look. I mean, Rob Johnson had a 3 that just was a little bit off the mark. He was a little bit off the mark tonight after a pretty good game the other day, or a really good game the other day against Illinois. He was 5 for 14 from the floor. Still had 13 points, but just was not super efficient in doing that. Melo Trimble was kind of the same way. He was only 2 for 10 in the second half. He ends with a team-high 18 points. But still, I mean, Indiana did a decent job of containing him and at least making him fairly inefficient, 5 for 16 from the floor. He got to the line 10 times, made 8 of his free throws. So he was still able to affect the game in a lot of ways, which we expected. But Maryland's freshmen, I thought, played really, really well. They made a couple big plays down the stretch. Finished with 37 points combined between
and Jackson Herder.
Yeah, just really, they looked really good, especially in stretches tonight. Cowan had a couple really, really good sequences.
And Herder had the big shot at the end.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was. I mean, they were the guys kind of making the plays down the end and playing pretty good defense as well. So they kind of, I guess, outplayed Indiana's freshmen, even though Indiana's freshmen really didn't play a whole lot tonight.
Curtis Jones played well when he was in.
Yeah.
In the first, he had a good stretch in the first half.
Yeah, and Green had a few nice moments. Not a big night from Deron Davis. Really not a huge night from Indiana's front court in general. Thomas Bryant was, as he's been lately, was pretty quiet. 6 points, team-high 7 rebounds. He made a few really, really competitive plays, but he was only 2 for 8 from the floor, and just wasn't really able to get looks.
DeMonte Dodd owned him tonight. Thomas Bryant struggled for most of the game. I mean, there was a point where it looked like he was starting to figure out how to attack Dodd, and in the second half, he still wasn't really getting much. And I mean, he started abandoning the paint a little more after Dodd was beating him so much. I mean, Dodd had like 6 blocks, something ridiculous. But I mean, overall, Indiana lost this game because they didn't get enough from guys like Thomas Bryant. They didn't get enough from Juwan Morgan. They didn't get enough from OG Anunoby, despite that ridiculous dunk at the end.
Right. Yeah. I mean, until that. I mean, Anunoby only had 5 points. Morgan had 6 points. Blackman. He's going to get his points. Johnson. He's going to get his points. But you're going to need a third threat, whether that's Juwan Morgan, whether that's Thomas Bryant. You're going to need another scorer.
The 3 sophomores shot a combined 5 for 19, and Indiana's just not built to win without those guys putting up more points.
Yeah, and Josh Newkirk was actually a fairly effective scorer tonight. He was limited a little bit in the second half. He ended up with 4 fouls, but he was 4 for 6 from the floor, 9 points. Really was kind of playing within himself more than we've seen him for long stretches of the season, and he looked okay. I mean, he only had 1 assist. Indiana didn't move the ball maybe as well as it usually does tonight. There's a lot of kind of give the ball to Blackman and see what he does, but Newkirk, it didn't hurt the team, which I guess is kind of what a lot of IU fans have viewed as his role this year. So it was just it's not. Indiana played pretty well. They shot over 40% from the floor, over 40% from three. Didn't get to the line as much as they wanted to. Indiana shot 9 free throws. Maryland shot 22. That's obviously a big difference.
And the biggest difference was Maryland had 8 blocks in the first half.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, Dodd finished with 6 blocks overall for the game. But I mean, continually in the first half, they stopped doing it in the second half. But so many times in the first half, you just saw guys on Indiana drive into the lane, kind of realize, oh, I'm in the middle of like 3 defenders now. Someone come bail me out. And it's like, you can't do that. Like, I specifically remember Robert Johnson doing that and just staring up at DeMonte Dodd like, oh my God, what am I going to do?
Yeah, like I didn't expect you to be here. Yeah. So it was in stretches. Indiana's offense was just kind of discombobulated as we've seen it. But in general, Indiana played pretty well.
Especially in the second half, Indiana's offense looked pretty good, but there were just still some stretches where they weren't scoring.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that'll obviously kill you. But overall, not a horrendous performance, not a Nebraska-like performance or Wisconsin-like performance from Indiana tonight. Decent showing on the road. Their first, as you wrote about, their first actually hostile road environment of the year. I thought they had pretty decent composure. So certainly some positives to take moving forward for Indiana. They come back home this coming weekend, to face Rutgers at noon on Sunday, and we'll obviously be there.
I won't.
That's right. That's this weekend. But, yeah, well, I'll be there. Yeah. Seth will be in New York. But yeah, we'll have full coverage leading up to that. It should be, another very winnable game for Indiana, especially being at home. So
they cannot drop that game.
Yeah, that would be bad to fall to 1-4 in conference play with a home loss to Rutgers.
That would basically put the nail in the coffin.
Yeah,
I would think. Yeah,
I mean, and that's the thing about this game tonight. I mean, it was that close to Indiana being 2-2 in conference play, and now they're 1-3. So that is obviously not a good start for Indiana. Going to be tough to dig themselves out of that one. But that's all we've got tonight. Thanks for watching. We'll talk to you soon, and hopefully you guys have a good week.